Interested in how the tiniest solutions can help solve some of the biggest challenges? Interested in biology? Please join me while I read the full Biosolutions book in this cozy fireplace setting. Introduction: A billion years of experience and counting. If any species were to lay claim to planet Earth as its first ever resident, it would be bacteria, one of many types of microorganisms. More than 3 billion years ago, the Earth was a boiling hot mess. No oxygen, scorching temperatures, and an atmosphere packed with carbon dioxide. It was in this unforgiving environment that life made its first appearance, in the form of bacteria called cyanobacteria. These tiny microorganisms did something extraordinary. They consumed carbon dioxide and released oxygen. With an unlimited supply of CO2 in the atmosphere, cyanobacteria thrived, pumping out oxygen for billions of years. This gradual oxygen buildup changed everything. It transformed Earth from a hostile wasteland into a planet bursting with life, paving the way for plants, animals, and eventually humans. Today we know that microorganisms are all around us and fundamental to Earth's ecosystems, driving essential biological and ecological processes that keep our planet ticking. At pace with advancements in biological research, our understanding of microorganisms expands, revealing their critical roles in health, innovation, and sustainable solutions. But what exactly are they like, and how do they exert their power? Microorganisms, the unseen superheroes of our planet. Microorganisms are like superheroes doing good deeds at night. In the vast ecosystem of our planet, microorganisms operate as the silent guardians of our planet's well-being and covertly ensure the stability and sustainability of life itself. While birds, animals, insects, and plants are celebrated for their role on planet Earth, microorganisms are unseen and often underappreciated. Just ask anyone about the importance of trees, and they will probably mention their vital role in producing oxygen. But did you know that nearly half of the oxygen we breathe does not come from the trees, but from tiny ocean microorganisms, especially a bacterium called Prochlorococcus? Once you uncover their hidden influence, you will never see the world the same way again. Keep listening to learn how microorganisms make life on Earth possible, and how we can learn from these microscopic powerhouses and use them to solve some of the biggest challenges and do the dishes. As you progress, consider revisiting this introductory chapter to refresh your understanding of the fascinating facts we're about to unveil. Why are they called microorganisms? Microorganisms are so small we cannot see them with the naked eye. To see them, we need a microscope. Their size is measured in a unit called a micrometer. A micrometer is 1/1000th of a millimeter, which means you would need 1,000 micrometers lined up to make just 1 millimeter. An object generally needs to be at least 100 micrometer to be visible to the naked eye, but most microorganisms are much smaller. Bacteria usually measure around 1 micrometer, and viruses can be up to 10 times smaller. With so much about these organisms involving the word micro, it shouldn't surprise that they are called microorganisms. However, the term microbe comes from the amalgamation of two Greek words, micros, meaning small, and bios, meaning life. So microbe essentially translates to small life. The term microbe refers to a wide range of tiny organisms. This includes bacteria, fungi, phytoplankton, viruses, archaea, and protozoa. Microorganisms run the world. Microorganisms, sometimes referred to as germs in everyday language, tend to evoke fear. From an early age, we are taught to fear germs and protect ourselves from them to avoid harmful infections. And of course, we should, but this fear does not change the fact that microorganisms are vital to our survival. In fact, we live in a world shaped and run by microorganisms. Here's what the National Research Council Committee on Metagenomics of the U.S. National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine has to say about microorganisms. Microbes run the world. It's that simple. Although we can't usually see them, microbes are essential for every part of human life. Indeed, all life on Earth. Since the dawn of human evolution, our bodies have evolved alongside the microorganisms that have become an integral part of our bodies and existence. Humans, like all living organisms, are made of cells. Trillions of cells come together to form one human being. But studies show that in our bodies, the number of microbial cells far outnumbers human cells. A human body has about 37 trillion human cells, but around 100 trillion microbial cells. That's 3 times more microbial cells than human cells. Scientists have estimated that over 10,000 species of microorganisms can live in the human body. This relationship is fundamental. We share an unbreakable bond with the microorganisms living inside and on us in communities called microbiomes. We provide these microbiomes with food and shelter, while they offer us vital services, such as essential biochemicals called metabolites that our bodies need for survival but cannot produce on their own. But microorganisms are not just in our bodies, they are everywhere. Let's focus on 2 of the most studied and important species crucial to making human existence on Earth sustainable and long-lasting: bacteria and yeast. Bacteria, the first inhabitants of Earth. Today we know about 43,000 species of bacteria, whereas studies suggest that there might be millions more that we don't know of. Some bacteria are shaped like rods, others like spheres or spirals, and they exist just about everywhere, from deep oceans and icy glaciers to inside our bodies. However, just about 1,500 bacteria species are known to cause infections in humans. The rest? They either help us survive in ways we rarely think about, or go about their business without interfering in our lives. Wondering what exactly the bacteria help us with? Well, here are some of their most fascinating contributions to our world. They help create life-saving antibiotics. Ironically, some of our most powerful weapons against bacterial infections come from bacteria themselves. In nature, bacteria are in constant competition for resources, and some have evolved the ability to release chemicals that kill or inhibit the growth of rival bacteria. Scientists have harnessed this natural defense mechanism to create antibiotics, medications that help us combat bacterial infections. Take Streptomyces, for example. This genus of bacteria is responsible for producing over 50% of the antibiotics we rely on today, including life-saving drugs like streptomycin and tetracycline. Another important class of antibiotics, known as carbapenems, is also derived from Streptomyces species. These antibiotics are often used to treat severe infections, especially those caused by resistant bacteria. Without these bacterial allies, modern medicine would have limited options for treating serious infections like pneumonia, tuberculosis, and strep throat. They make soil fertile and help plants grow. Ever wondered how plants get the nutrients they need to grow? Sure, they absorb water and sunlight, but one of the most essential nutrients, nitrogen, comes from an unexpected source, bacteria. Nitrogen is a critical component of amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. It is necessary for the growth and reproduction of all living organisms. Plants cannot absorb nitrogen directly from the air, even though it makes up approximately 78% of our atmosphere. That is where the bacteria step in. Some bacteria that exist in the soil, known as nitrogen-fixing bacteria, like Rhizobium and Azotobacter, convert nitrogen from the atmosphere into a form that plants can absorb directly from the soil. These bacteria often live in the roots of plants like peas, beans, and lentils, forming tiny nodules where they work their magic. Without nitrogen-fixing bacteria, plants would struggle to grow, and our entire food system would collapse. Apart from ensuring nutrition availability, bacteria perform a host of other functions that make agriculture possible. For example, the bacteria Pseudomonas fluorescens protect plants from harmful fungi and bacteria while strengthening their immune systems, whereas Pseudomonas putida bacteria form a protective layer around roots, helping plants resist drought. Growing scientific knowledge about the role of various bacteria in the soil has been helping us rely less on chemical pesticides and fertilizers and leverage the power of bacteria to make agriculture more productive and less harmful on the environment. They produce essential biochemicals inside our bodies. Earlier, we discussed the presence of trillions of bacteria in our bodies in communities called microbiomes. They live on our skin, in our mouth, and most importantly, in our gut, where they help digest food, regulate the immune system, and even influence our mood. One of the most important jobs of gut bacteria is producing vitamins and other essential compounds that our bodies can't make on their own. For example, Escherichia coli, E. coli, a bacterium naturally found in our intestines, helps produce vitamin K10, which is crucial for blood clotting. Without it, even a small cut could turn into a life-threatening situation. Other friendly bacteria like Bifidobacteria and Lactobacillus help break down complex carbohydrates, ensuring we absorb nutrients efficiently. They also play a role in keeping harmful microorganisms in check, preventing infections and digestive issues. They break down waste and clean up pollution. Bacteria are nature's greatest recyclers. They break down organic matter like dead plants and animals, returning valuable nutrients to the ecosystem. Without them, the planet would be covered in waste. But here's something even more impressive. Some bacteria can even digest things that we humans have created and that we really need to break down, like oil spills and plastic. For example, Alcanivirax borcumensis is an oil-eating bacterium that can provide us with an efficient tool to deal with devastating oil spills. Scientists have even discovered a bacterium called Ideonella sacchiensis that can break down plastic, offering a potential solution to plastic pollution. Bacteria might be small, but their impact on the planet and our lives is enormous. From shaping Earth's atmosphere billions of years ago to ensuring our survival today, they are the invisible workforce that keeps life running smoothly. So, the next time you hear the word bacteria, don't just think of germs and infections. Think of the hidden army of microorganisms working tirelessly to make life on Earth possible. Now, let's take a look at the other microorganism of our interest in this conversation. Yeast. Yes, we mean the same yeast that helps bake your favorite bread. and you will be surprised at just how much more it can do. Yeast, our best friend, ancestor, and savior. Earlier, we discussed how cyanobacteria played a major role in transforming Earth's atmosphere, triggering a rise in oxygen levels that paved the way for the evolution of complex life. Among the diverse life forms that evolved were fungi. Fungi have existed for over 1 billion years, long before animals or plants emerged. At some point in their evolutionary history, some fungi evolved into multicellular organisms, like mushrooms and mold, while others, like yeast, adapted to a unicellular lifestyle. This means yeast didn't evolve separately from fungi. They are fungi that took a different evolutionary path. Over time, different yeast species emerged, and scientists estimate that the last common ancestor of all modern yeast species lived around 400 million years ago, an incredibly long time before the earliest known ancestor of humans, Sahelanthropus chadensis, which lived only about 7 million years ago. Yet, despite this enormous evolutionary gap of over 390 million years between the common ancestor of yeast and humans, both of us share a distant common ancestor from over 1 billion years ago. As a result of this really ancient shared connection, there are genetic similarities between yeast and humans. Surprisingly, studies show that anywhere between 23% to 30% of the genes in yeast are similar to those in humans. An interesting study that explored these similarities gained global attention. Researchers from the University of Texas at Austin took the most commonly used yeast, known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae, baker's yeast. They identified 414 genes in the yeast that are essential for its survival and replaced them with similar genes found in humans. Remarkably, the yeast could survive with human genes in 47% of the cases. Now, let's shift our focus to the star of our discussion, baker's yeast. Although there are over 1,500 known varieties of yeast, baker's yeast is the variety that has been widely used for everything from baking bread and brewing beer to creating biofuels that could power planes and cars. The relationship humans share with baker's yeast is an ancient one. But how did we land on this particular yeast variety? It turns out it was a long process of domestication, much like how humans domesticated wild wolves into the dogs we use for various purposes today. In fact, yeast is considered the oldest organism ever domesticated by humans. What exactly do we mean by the domestication of yeast? Imagine this. Our ancestors, tired from their search for food, stumble upon a treasure, a fruit tree, its ripe fruits scattered on the forest floor. These fruits aren't rotting, but they're starting to ferment. And with that fermentation comes a strange yet exciting taste, a mix of sweetness, acidity, and complexity. Curious, they take a bite, savor the flavor, and save the fruit for later. Little did they know, it was the yeast on those fruits, quietly working its magic, that gave them that funky flavor. Over time, humans began to notice that some foods, left to their own devices, developed unique flavors, some even tastier than others. And this wasn't a mere coincidence. With a little trial and error, early humans began to realize the power of wild yeasts, noticing how they transformed the foods around them. It was like finding a secret ingredient in nature's pantry. Through generations of careful observation and selection, these wild yeasts became less unpredictable, adapting to human needs and becoming more reliable. What began as a wild, untamed process evolved into the first steps of yeast cultivation. setting the stage for the vital role yeast would play in cultures, industries, and kitchens worldwide. This was no random discovery. It was the spark of a quiet revolution, that tangy, funky taste, which is the unmistakable result of fermentation, ignited our ancestors' curiosity. Suddenly, they had a whole new understanding of how nature could transform flavors. And from there, years of refining and selecting the best yeast strains led to the creation of the beloved baker's yeast we depend on today. So, what exactly is fermentation, and why has it remained one of humanity's greatest discoveries? Let's dive into the fascinating science that made it all possible. The amazing science of fermentation. Fermentation is a biological process taking place in organic material when microorganisms consume and convert sugars into energy for themselves. In the process, they produce byproducts like gases, alcohol, or acids. In fact, it's these byproducts that make it interesting. Let's look at a few familiar examples of fermentation in action. Consider the example of yogurt. Lactobacillus bacteria are added to milk, where they consume the carbohydrates and use fermentation to produce lactic acid and carbon dioxide. The lactic acid gives yogurt its signature tang, while the carbon dioxide escapes into the air. In bread making, yeast is added to the dough. As the dough rests, the yeast ferments the sugars in the dough, releasing carbon dioxide and alcohol. The carbon dioxide gets trapped in the dough, causing it to rise and form air bubbles. When baked, the trapped carbon dioxide escapes, giving the bread its fluffy texture, while the alcohol evaporates due to heat. From yogurt to bread, cheese, and wine and beer, and many other beloved favorites, the unique flavors and textures are often a result of fermentation. Moreover, it has been a traditional method of food preservation for centuries, even though our ancestors didn't know about fermentation as such. They just knew that cheese kept longer than milk and wine longer than grapes. Ancient open-air fermentation. Anthropologists have provided indirect evidence that fermentation existed even when humans hadn't fully evolved into their modern form. They point out that early humans started using fermentation to preserve food. This was even before pottery was invented to store the food. There exist even now methods of fermenting food that do not require any containers. For instance, open-air fermentation, allowing wild yeasts and bacteria from the environment to inoculate the food. One recent proof of fermented food without any containers is a 9,000-year-old site in Sweden, where bones of hundreds of thousands of fermented fish were found by archaeologists in a pit. Fermentation has truly shaped how we preserve and transform food, linking us to ancient practices while still influencing modern food production and more sustainable practices. But what's so powerful about fermentation? Enter enzymes. While bacteria and yeast initiate and sustain the fermentation process, enzymes are the tools they produce to carry out the necessary biochemical transformations. In the next section, we will explore how these enzymes work, their role in vital processes, and why they are crucial to making humanity's activities more sustainable. Enzymes, catalysts of change, masters of transformation. What exactly are enzymes? Let's break it down. Enzymes are biological catalysts, substances that speed up biochemical reactions. And not just any chemical reactions, but the ones that are essential to life itself. They are produced by all living organisms, from humans and plants to microorganisms like bacteria and yeast. But simply calling them catalysts doesn't really tell us much, does it? So let's dig a little deeper. Imagine this. We all try to eat a healthy diet. Veggies, fruits, proteins, hoping to keep our bodies as happy and healthy as possible. But have you ever stopped mid-bite and wondered, how does our body actually turn that delicious avocado into a burst of energy? Or that juicy orange into a superhero vitamin? Sure, we've got a digestive system that helps us process everything we eat. But there's more going on behind the scenes, something like a backstage crew making sure the show runs smoothly. How does that slice of bread magically transform into the energy we need to take on the day? That's where enzymes come in. Enzymes are responsible for so many important functions in our bodies, from helping break down food during digestion to facilitating wound healing. Without enzymes, all of our biochemical reactions would slow down so much that our bodies wouldn't function properly or even stay alive. We promised to explain how bread turns into energy later, but to really understand enzymes, we need to first look at the concept of catalysts and how they work their magic. What is a catalyst? Picture a catalyst as a game changer or provocateur in a scientific sense. It's like a spark that sets off a fire, but then steps back and lets the reaction unfold without actively participating in it. Or think of a catalyst as a helpful push, providing the initial boost needed to overcome an energy barrier, so a biochemical reaction can happen faster and more efficiently, over and over again. When catalysts are biological, that is, produced by living organisms, they are called enzymes. There are many kinds of enzymes in nature, each one designed to speed up specific chemical reactions involving certain molecules. No enzyme is universal. They all have a special role to play. It's like they're tiny biological machines, each built for a very specific task. Imagine the precision of enzymes at work. A key perfectly crafted to fit just one lock in the entire world, facilitating its opening time and time again. That's the incredible specificity enzymes possess. Scientifically put, each enzyme is uniquely shaped to interact with certain molecules, enabling them to guide the molecules through vital biochemical transformations with incredible precision. Like invisible little workers, enzymes roll up their sleeve, break down complex molecules into simpler ones, and rearrange them to create something entirely new. And here's the true marvel. Enzymes accomplish their tasks without altering themselves in any way. Using the key analogy, they can unlock the same door repeatedly without ever wearing out. They remain poised for action, continually ready to perform their biochemical magic. So, how do enzymes do their thing? Let's take a closer look with another analogy. Imagine you're building a bookshelf. You've got all the parts laid out: screws, bolts, wooden panels, and hinges. What's the first thing you do? Are you going to try assembling it by hand, simply hoping for the best? Of course not. Without the right tools, the bookshelf would never hold together, and it might end up collapsing. You'd grab a power drill with the right attachments to help you assemble the furniture. In this case, the power drill is like an enzyme. It helps make the assembly process faster and more efficient, transforming the wooden panels and hinges into a brand new bookshelf without becoming a part of the final product. Now, let's break down how an enzyme works using a similar step-by-step approach. Step 1. Adding the enzyme to a substance. Just like you plug in your power drill to start assembling the bookshelf, you add an enzyme to the substance you want to transform. That's the first step. Step 2. The enzyme's active site latches onto the chemicals. Enzymes have a special area called an active site that fits perfectly onto the substances they act on. just like a power drill bit is designed to fit the screws or bolts of your bookshelf. Step 3. Formation of the enzyme substrate complex. When the enzyme attaches to the substance, it forms what's called the enzyme substrate complex. This is similar to when you position the power drill on a screw. The drill bit fits into the screw just as the enzyme binds to the substrate. Step 4. Catalysis, speeding up the reaction. Once the enzyme substrate complex is formed, the enzyme accelerates the reaction, causing the substances to transform more quickly and efficiently. Think of it like the power drill rapidly twisting screws, quickly assembling the bookshelf. Step 5. Finished product and enzyme ready for use again. After the bookshelf is assembled, you set the power drill aside, ready to use again. Similarly, once the enzyme has transformed the molecules into a new product, it detaches from the complex, leaving behind the transformed product. The enzyme is then available to help with another reaction. And there you have it. These 5 steps show how enzymes work their magic, speeding up reactions, forcing chemicals that wouldn't normally react with each other to come together, and then transforming them into something completely new. In the process, enzymes make life easier and more efficient for us in countless ways. Let's dive into a few other examples to see just how enzymes work in action. Enzymes in the digestion of food. Imagine having a slice of your favorite bread for breakfast. Made from grains like wheat or rye, bread contains carbohydrates, your body's primary energy source. But carbohydrates are complex structures made of sugar molecules, too large to be absorbed directly into your bloodstream. That's where enzymes step in. As you chew, an enzyme in your saliva, called salivary alpha amylase, gets to work, breaking down complex carbohydrates into smaller sugar molecules. Once these partially digested carbohydrates reach your intestines, another enzyme, pancreatic alpha amylase, continues the breakdown, making the sugar small enough to be absorbed into your bloodstream. This process ensures your body gets the energy it needs to power your day. Enzymes in wound healing. Let us consider another scenario. You are out jogging on a lovely spring day, breathing in fresh air and soaking in the sunlight. Suddenly you trip, fall, and scrape your knee. Some blood starts to ooze out. But do not worry. Your body immediately begins to heal the wound. It releases a chemical called hydrogen peroxide, along with white blood cells, to keep harmful bacteria at bay. However, too much hydrogen peroxide can be harmful and cause cellular damage. This is where an enzyme comes in, catalase. Catalase acts as a powerful defense, quickly transforming harmful hydrogen peroxide into harmless water and oxygen. It's this speedy transformation that prevents damage and promotes healing. Enzymes in nature. Enzymes are not limited to humans. They are essential in the natural world too. Plants, animals, and microorganisms all rely on enzymes to survive and thrive. For example, plants have enzymes called proteases that help with multiple functions, fighting off pests and infections, generating proteins for growth, and facilitating regeneration. Even plants need enzymes to stay healthy. Microorganisms, including bacteria, play a crucial role in decomposition. Ever wondered what happens to the vegetable scraps in a compost bin? Bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms work tirelessly to break down the organic matter using enzymes like cellulase. Cellulase is a fantastic enzyme that can break down cellulose, the tough exterior of plant cells. It's like a carpenter cutting through wood with a saw. As cellulase works its magic, the plant's defenses weaken, and the microorganisms are able to feast on the softer, more digestible parts. This process creates compost, a rich, nutrient-packed substance that gardeners cherish. Remember when we discussed how some bacteria in the soil help fix nitrogen, converting nitrogen from the air into a form plants can absorb? This process is made possible by an enzyme these bacteria produce, called nitrogenase. Whether it is humans, plants, or microorganisms, enzymes are the life forces behind ensuring that every living organism in nature stays alive, functions well, and thrives. Researchers have discovered the vast importance of enzymes, realizing that they hold tremendous potential to help humans solve a wide range of challenges. As a result, biosolutions, or biological solutions, which leverage the power of microorganisms and enzymes, are all around us in everyday products. But most people don't realize how much they rely on them. Hopefully, the journey back to life's start at the beginning of this chapter has made it easier to understand the profound impact microorganisms and enzymes have on our world, and how they can play a crucial role in innovation and sustainable solutions. If you're hungry for more, keep listening as we dive into real-world examples of how biosolutions are already being used and how they work across industries. From innovative farming techniques to improved and more sustainable manufacturing processes, we'll explore the tangible ways these biological advancements are changing lives and contributing to a better world for future generations. It's genius, really. Biosolutions and food waste. Good microbes versus bad. Did you know that more than 700 million people suffer from hunger worldwide? And that 1/3 of all food is wasted? It's not just the food that's wasted, it's also the water, animal feed, fertilizer, and electricity used to produce it. According to FAO, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, over 1 billion tons of food are wasted every year. That's more than 1/4 of the world's farmed area and 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. We often find ourselves tossing out food that's stale or expired, whether it's yogurt past its expiry date, moldy cheese, stinky meat, or stale bread. After all, none of us want to compromise the health of our loved ones by risking food contaminated by pesky microbes like bacteria or fungus. But what many of us don't consider when tossing out food is the staggering scale of the problem. That's why we need to take action against food waste. And guess who we can turn to for help? Our tiny pals, microbes. Specifically, bacteria. Yep, those same little critters responsible for making your food go bad and forcing you to throw it away. Pretty ironic, right? But the results have been downright amazing. By harnessing the power of bacteria and utilizing the effects from fermentation, we can preserve food products for longer. This can help extend the shelf life of food products throughout the distribution chain, leading to both optimization of productivity and less food waste. These fermentation-enabled bacteria solutions, known as food cultures, are changing the game. But how exactly does fermentation with microbes help preserve food longer when they're usually the reason for food spoilage and wastage? Let's have a look through the microscope. Not all bacteria are created equal. Fortunately, not all bacteria are created equal. Our world hosts many beneficial microbes that serve as adversaries to the harmful ones. When it comes to bioprotection, scientists team up with these good microbes to combat the bad ones. It's a bit like the ancient proverb, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." In fact, that's the very principle at play in bioprotection. Our planet is teeming with approximately 1 trillion species of microbes, encompassing various bacteria, fungi, viruses, algae, and other single-celled or multicellular organisms. However, The vast majority of the trillion species of these microbes do not pose a threat. Only about 1,500 species have been identified as pathogenic or harmful microbes. Among the trillion microbes are many beneficial to humans. They can be found everywhere around us and even within us. Fermentation in action. Bacteria play an important role in creating the taste and appearance that we like in our food. Building on ancient traditions and relying on the newest scientific insights, it is possible to ferment with good bacteria to prevent and slow down the growth of bad bacteria, yeast, and molds in our food. A wise move, since bad or even dangerous microorganisms will spoil our food or make us sick. Naturally occurring good bacteria in fermentation can be our friends and fight our enemies in a number of ways. They can eat their food. Good and bad bacteria compete for the same nutrients naturally present in our food on which they feed. They can outnumber the bad bacteria in the keen competition for space. They can produce natural organic compounds known as metabolites that attack the bad microorganisms. They can send signals in cell-to-cell communication, affecting or preventing other species from spreading. But to truly comprehend the diverse ways in which friendly bacteria help protect food against spoilage bacteria, let's just recap the ancient practice of fermentation. Fermentation, the secret behind food preservation in ancient pantries. Picture this. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors could not store food. No supermarkets, no mom-and-pop stores, no refrigerators, nothing. When they hunted a nice big wild boar or harvested grain, there were no guarantees it would last through the next moon. Food was not easily available year-round. Enter fermentation, the ancient superhero of food preservation. Ancient humans discovered that a small amount of fermented starter could kickstart the process in a large batch of unfermented food. Like Egyptians used a fermented mash of ground grains and water to brew beer. This practice wasn't exclusive to Egypt. Civilizations worldwide used fermentation to preserve food, make wines, and brew beers, leaving a lasting mark on culinary history. Fast forward to the 19th century, and scientists dropped a knowledge bomb. Tiny critters called microbes cause fermentation, a natural process where bacteria grow, multiply, and generate byproducts such as gases, alcohol, or acids. Later revelations showed that good bacteria are the masterminds behind biological compounds called enzymes, which are a vital part of the transformation process in food. These enzymes break down carbohydrates in the food, creating acidity in food, which in turn makes the food less susceptible to attacks by bad microbes. It also adds that distinctive tangy and sharp flavor found in all fermented goodies. Today, when food is easily available around the clock on a global scale, we are facing another problem. Once a food product rolls off the production line, the clock starts ticking towards its inevitable demise. The longer it sits on the shelf, the greater the risk of spoilage from pesky intruders like spoilage bacteria or fungi. Think about it. Tons of goodies end up in the bin mere days or months after being made, all because of their short shelf life. Enter the brilliant minds of scientists, pondering ways to extend the shelf life without resorting to chemical wizardry. Their solution? Finding the best good bacteria to take on the bad guys. Thus, the fermentation-enabled bioprotection revolution was born. But identifying the right bacteria for the job is not a walk in the park. It takes years of research, testing, and a hefty dose of patience to pinpoint the perfect candidate. Good bacteria that play nice with others, are safe for human consumption, and don't mess with the food's taste or texture. These bacterial warriors are the unsung heroes with an ability to improve the shelf life and safety of dairy, meat, and several other products. Today, almost 20% of dairy products and a similar percentage of meat, about 300 million tons of it, end up in bins every year. Good microbes ensure that tons of food across various categories stay fresh and delicious, instead of meeting an untimely end in the trash. Let's get a bit more technical now and dive into how these microbial superheroes are rescuing one of the most wasted food products worldwide, yogurt. Just within the EU, around 1.5 million tons of yogurt are wasted every year. Case study: fermentation-enabled bioprotection and its impact on yogurt. In 2012, Novonesis launched its first food culture specifically designed to enhance the bioprotective properties of fermented dairy products like yogurt, sour cream, and various fresh white cheeses. This innovative culture contains beneficial bacteria that help extend the shelf life of these products by slowing down the growth of spoilage-causing microbes such as yeast and molds. Since then, Novonesis has introduced several new and improved generations of these food culture solutions. The journey to discovering the optimal culture was extensive, involving a detailed selection process spanning several years. Scientists meticulously sifted through Novonesis's massive collection of over 40,000 strains to find the best candidate. Their goal was to identify a strain that effectively combats unwanted microbes during fermentation while maintaining the desired taste, texture, and other critical characteristics of the final dairy product. The science behind it. Lactic acid bacteria have been essential in the fermentation and preservation of milk products for thousands of years. During fermentation, these bacteria convert milk sugar into lactic acid, lowering the pH level and creating a slightly acidic environment that inhibits the growth of harmful bacteria. This acidity also gives fermented foods their distinctive tangy flavor. The task for the scientists was to find lactic acid bacteria that excelled at competing with unwanted microbes for nutrients or creating an unfavorable environment for them. Novonesis scientists were pioneers in scientifically explaining how these good bacteria fight yeast and mold spoilage. Their findings, published in the prestigious Applied and Environmental Microbiology journal, revealed that the beneficial bacteria absorb manganese, a nutrient essential for the growth of yeast and mold. By reducing manganese levels in the food product, the good bacteria effectively delay spoilage, thus improving quality and shelf life. This deeper understanding of how the process works paves the way for new research. With this knowledge, scientists can screen for and develop the best food cultures in a more targeted manner. They can also apply these cultures more effectively to achieve desired results. Expanding horizons. Originally focused on dairy, researchers are now exploring how these beneficial microbes can protect an even wider range of food products from spoilage and reduce food waste. This includes fermented plant-based products, a rapidly growing category. By harnessing the power of microbes, work is ongoing towards creating healthier food options with fewer unwanted artificial ingredients. These efforts are rooted in sustainable, resource-efficient solutions. In short, biosolutions. Here's to fresher, longer-lasting food. Enzymes and circular plastics, plastic's worst enemy. Picture this, a world where we could capture all the nasty gases emitted when burning fossil fuels like coal and oil, then turn them right back into fuel. Burn, capture, use, and repeat an endless loop of fossil fuel reuse. That would have been a game changer, right? We would not be facing immediate threats of global warming and climate change as we are now. But let's face it, we all know that burning fossil fuels is a one-way street. Once they're gone, they're gone. We have a similar problem with something else we use every day, plastics. They end up everywhere on the planet, in oceans, rivers, lakes, forests, landfills, and even inside animals and humans. Plastic recycling is a broken cycle. What is your answer to this question? Is using plastic a one-way street like oil and coal? If your answer is no, it must be because you think we can recycle plastic. After all, plastic recycling has been discussed since the 1970s and has evolved significantly. Despite the improvements in recycling technology, plastic circularity remains a challenge. That's because once a plastic product is recycled, the plastic loses its quality. Also, fresh plastic has to be added to the recycled plastic to create new products out of it. More importantly, we cannot endlessly keep recycling plastic. There comes a point, usually after a few times of recycling, that the plastic becomes unrecyclable. The only solution then remains discarding it in landfills or incinerating it. Today, less than 10% of the plastic we produce is actually recycled, making recycling seem like mere lip service to the environmental cause. But plastics are essential for humans. They are used in everything, from clothes and smartphones to food packaging and medical equipment. Global annual plastic production has surpassed 400 million metric tons, from less than 2 million metric tons in the 1950s. We can't simply stop producing plastics. So, are we doomed to drown in plastic? Not quite. In fact, we can produce, use, and reuse plastics almost indefinitely. Circularity in plastics. It's a system where fresh plastic, known as virgin plastic, is produced and turned into products. When it's time to discard these products, we convert them back into virgin plastic, which can then be used to create new products. This perpetual cycle of virgin plastic product, virgin plastic, is what we call circularity. Not only does this approach address plastic waste, but it also significantly reduces the need for producing new virgin plastic. This groundbreaking advancement has been made possible by enzymes, natural substances found in nature and produced by all living organisms, including microbes, animals, and plants. So far, the scope is PET plastic. We'll delve into how enzymes have helped develop a solution to tackle the plastic waste problem for certain plastic types. We'll also explore the mechanism involved and what the future holds. But first, let's take a moment to grasp the basics of plastic. How are plastics made? You know how oil is like the backbone of modern society, right? Well, it's not just for fueling our cars or keeping us warm. It's also the key ingredient in making plastic. But how does oil become the plastic we use every day? Let's break it down. Plastics are derived from crude oil, natural gas, or coal that undergo several steps in a refining and compounding process. When, for example, crude oil comes out of the ground, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of lots of different stuff. So it goes to a place called a refinery. There it's heated up really hot to split it into different parts, like petrol, diesel, kerosene, and something special we need for making plastic, ethane and propane. Ethane and propane, after they're separated from the crude oil, are converted into two important chemicals, ethylene and propylene. These are the building blocks for making certain plastics, known as monomers. Once we have ethylene and propylene, They're joined together to form long chains called polymers. This process of joining monomers to form large polymer chains is called polymerization. Think of it like interlinking metal links to form a long chain. The final result, the long chains of monomers coming together to form polymers, is what we call plastics. And here's the fascinating part. Depending on how we connect and arrange these monomers, and by adding other petrochemical building blocks, it is possible to create a wide variety of different types of plastics. Some, like polyethylene and polypropylene, are tough and durable, perfect for products like food containers. Others, like polystyrene, are more flexible and lightweight, making them ideal for items like foam packaging or building insulation material. The word polymer originates from the Greek words poly, meaning many, and meros, meaning parts or units. This term aptly captures the concept of polymers, multiple monomers linking together to form a single large chain, plastic. You might be wondering, while jute bags, cotton clothes, and paper are biodegradable, why do plastics stick around for so long, even though they're made from a somewhat natural product like oil? Why doesn't plastic degrade in the environment like a banana peel? Well, here's the scoop. It's because plastic is basically the new kid on the block in Earth's history. Think about it. Plastics made from oil are barely a century old. One of the most used plastics, polyethylene terephthalate, PET, strutted onto the scene in the 1940s, and it's been causing a ruckus ever since. It is a type of plastic commonly used in the production of beverage bottles, food containers, and other packaging materials. PET is known for its clarity, strength, and recyclability. You might be thinking, why is this a problem? Here's the deal. When stuff breaks down in nature, like a banana peel or a piece of paper, it's usually because of tiny powerhouses called microbes. Microbes have been honing their craft for billions of years, chomping on anything they can to derive energy for survival, whether it is animal flesh or any kind of plant product. And they do this with the help of enzymes that they produce. Plastics made from oil are still alien to these microbes. They're still scratching their heads, wondering what to make of these shiny synthetic invaders. Can they munch on them? What are they even made of? But wait, here's where the story takes a wild turn. Enter the bacteria Ideonella sakaiensis, the rebel of the microbial world. While everyone else is still trying to figure out plastics, this bacterium is like, challenge accepted. It evolved to feast on plastics like a champ, pushing the boundaries of the survival of the fittest game more than any other living organism. Bacteria that chomp on plastic. In 2016, a team of Japanese researchers from Kyoto Institute of Technology and Keio University made a revolutionary discovery. In the samples they collected from a plastic recycling plant in Sakai City, Japan, they stumbled upon something extraordinary. Ideonella sakaiensis. This little marvel eats plastic and survives on plastic. But what's even more remarkable is how it devours one of the most produced plastics in the world, PET, often used for plastic water bottles. When made into threads, PET is commonly known as polyester, which, you might know, is often used to make clothes. It's tough, durable, and notoriously resistant to degradation. Yet here's Ideonella sakaiensis chomping away at PET like it's no big deal. With the discovery of Ideonella sakaiensis, the scientific community buzzed with excitement and anticipation. It sparked a wave of public interest and media attention. As researchers around the world scramble to unravel the mysteries of Ideonella sacaiensis, one thing becomes clear. Nature never ceases to amaze us. In the battle against plastic waste, it seems Mother Nature has a few tricks up her sleeve after all. How do bacteria break down plastics? Enzymes known as petase and MHetase proved to be potent weapons in the fight against plastic waste. But what do these enzymes do exactly? How do they degrade plastic? Imagine a big sandwich with layers of bread, meat, and cheese. If you place the sandwich near a colony of hungry ants, what do you think will happen? Within a few hours, the entire sandwich disappears. In this scenario, the ants symbolize plastic-eating bacteria. Initially, the sandwich might appear too substantial for the ants to tackle, much like PET seems indestructible to regular bacteria. However, ants possess powerful teeth that can swiftly cut through the sandwich layers. Gradually, they begin to nibble away at the sandwich, breaking it down into smaller pieces. With each bite, the ants reduce the sandwich into crumbs, which they transport back to their colony. Eventually, only a pile of crumbs, if anything, remains on the ground. As we've learned, plastics are created from oil by linking monomers together to form long chains known as polymers. Plastic-eating bacteria produce enzymes like petase and MHetase, which function similarly to the powerful jaws of ants. These enzymes work tirelessly to break down the polymers in PET plastic into individual, smaller monomers. Just as ants survive by consuming the small, chopped-up pieces of the sandwich, plastic-eating bacteria derive energy to survive by breaking down the polymers in plastic and eating the small monomers, elevating the power of enzymes to the next level. Even as human beings are struggling to tackle the plastic waste crisis, Mother Nature has already come up with her own solution. Fascinating, right? Fascinating, right? Inspired by nature's ingenuity, some super smart researchers decided to go on a mission to find even more of these natural solutions and make them work on a big scale to fight plastic waste. Then, in April 2020, a group of researchers from the University of Toulouse and Carbios, a French biotechnology firm, made headlines around the globe. They reported something groundbreaking: an enzyme that can break down a whopping 90% of a plastic bottle made of PET in just 10 hours. Imagine that, turning a bottle into tiny particles in less time than it takes to binge watch your favorite show. Otherwise, it takes hundreds of years for a single PET bottle to degrade in the environment. Why is this enzyme such a big deal? Picture this. You take a regular old plastic bottle, coat it with this magical enzyme, and boom! In just 10 hours, it transforms into a bunch of tiny particles, like crumbling a cookie into bits. And those bits are the same building blocks used to make the plastic in the first place, the monomers. Technically, the enzymes are given a helping hand in the form of a mechanical pre-treatment, chopping the plastic up into smaller parts, but that shouldn't steal their thunder. So, we can scoop the monomers up, polymerize them to link them into long chains in any way we want, and turn them back into shiny new plastic products. How awesome is that? But wait, there's more. Think about it. Every single minute, 1 million plastic water bottles are sold worldwide. That's over 500 billion in a year. But with this enzyme, we could drastically cut down on making new plastic and give Mother Nature a well-deserved break. Another major benefit arising out of this innovation is the ability to reuse polyester clothes. More than 50 million metric tons of polyester clothes, made from PET, end up in the trash globally. These clothes have become a major environmental nuisance. In fact, polyester clothing can be broken down into monomers in the same way as plastic bottles, enabling enzymatic recycling and circularity for polyester clothing. Enzymes can degrade more than just PET plastic. PET isn't the only plastic bowing down to nature's mighty enzymes. In a stunning revelation, German researchers unveiled a remarkable bacterium capable of not only surviving, but thriving on a different plastic frontier: polyurethane. Yes, you heard that right. Nature's microbial warriors have set their sights on yet another synthetic adversary. And if that wasn't impressive enough, brace yourself for this. The humble wax moth, often overlooked as mere fishing bait, emerges as an unlikely hero in the war on plastics. Scientists from Spain and the UK were astounded to discover that this unassuming worm boasts enzymes capable of breaking down polyethylene bags, those notorious symbols of environmental degradation. It's almost as if nature, fed up with the onslaught of plastics suffocating its ecosystems, has unleashed its own secret weapon, a silent revolution against the plastic plague. These discoveries illuminate a broader truth. Biology's ingenious solutions know no bounds. From PET bottles to polyethylene bags and beyond, synthetic plastics face an unprecedented onslaught from biology's relentless enzymes. It signals a remarkable shift in the battle against plastic pollution. While PET recycling has been a 10-year-plus journey to get to industrial scale with a well-defined enzyme, our waxworm friends still represent the music of the future. They could hold long-term potential, but are currently far away from being an immediately implementable solution. Embracing the transformative prowess of enzymes. In the battle against the plastic waste crisis to protect nature, our powerful ally comes from nature itself. Nature has always had its own way of dealing with waste, whether it's fallen leaves getting decomposed by microbes into nutrient-rich soil, or animal carcasses being eaten by scavengers. Plastic, however, presented nature with a unique challenge. Unlike organic materials, plastics are synthetically produced polymers engineered to be durable and resistant to degradation. The answer to our plastic problem has been lurking in various corners of our planet, just waiting to be uncovered by diligent researchers. And now, armed with this newfound knowledge, we're on the brink of a revolutionary breakthrough. Enzymes, drawn from the natural world, hold the key to unlocking the full potential of plastic circularity, a major shift in our sustainability playbook. Unlike conventional recycling methods that often degrade plastic quality with each cycle and end up in dumpsters eventually, circularity presents a holistic solution. By dismantling plastics into their primal components, the monomers, enzymes empower us to establish an almost closed-loop system. This perpetual dance of production, use, and regeneration minimizes the demand for virgin plastic production, thus dramatically curbing our ecological footprint. While there is a lot of research going on, there is an urgent need for out-of-the-lab solutions. At the forefront of this revolution stands the company Carbios, which is harnessing the power of enzymes to introduce circularity in plastics on an industrial scale. They are building a plant in France to convert 50,000 tons of PET waste per year into reusable monomers with the help of their groundbreaking enzyme. That is as much as 2 billion PET bottles. As we embrace the transformative prowess of enzymes and circularity, we embark on a collective journey towards a world where plastic pollution is but a distant memory. Yes, much work remains. including building an infrastructure to collect the plastic. But the enzymes are hungry for changing our relationship with plastic. Fun facts. We're eating microplastics every day. Microplastics are extremely small plastic pieces, often invisible to the naked eye, that contaminate the environment. An interesting 2019 study by researchers from the University of Newcastle, Australia, concluded that humans might be consuming as much as 5 grams of plastic every day from eating food and drinking beverages containing microplastics. That is equal to a credit card a day. Biodegradable plastic. Researchers across the world are working on a new kind of plastic that can become composted like any organic product, like food or plant waste. This new kind of plastic is called polylactic acid and is made from plant materials such as cornstarch and sugarcane. Metal-eating and gold-pooping bacteria. Meet Cupriavidus metallodurans, the bacteria with a golden touch. It lives in soils contaminated with toxic metals. This remarkable microbe has evolved unique processes to deal with situations where there is excess copper or gold in the soil, which is toxic. When faced with excess copper, it activates an enzyme called CUPA to pump out the surplus copper and stay healthy. But when gold is around, it cleverly switches to producing an enzyme called COPA, transforming toxic copper-gold compounds into harmless gold nuggets, just nanometers in size. Nature truly has some amazing tricks up its sleeve. Even so, as with all complex worldwide challenges, we cannot solve the plastics problems by means of one thing only. In this case, biosolutions encompassing the transformative prowess of enzymes and circularity. We need more research to really understand the biology and develop industrial-scale solutions. But perhaps more importantly, we need waste management practices and an infrastructure to collect the plastic. And above all, we need to use less and use alternatives where possible and relevant. Only then can we truly embark on a collective journey towards a future world where plastic pollution is but a distant memory. Biosolutions and fermented plant-based foods, fermenting the future. In the dynamic world of food trends, fermented plant-based foods are stealing the limelight. Once a quiet player in our diets, these plant-based options are now growing, with lots of effort going into boosting their culinary appeal. As the search for the perfect dairy and meat alternatives heats up, achieving the right balance of taste, texture, and mouthfeel is key. Ingredients like fava beans used to be tricky, not always tasty and sometimes hard to digest. But now, thanks to cutting-edge science and the magic of fermentation, everything's changing. Fermentation, a time-honored method loved by bakers, brewers, and kimchi lovers, has become a favorite tool for plant-based food scientists. This natural process helps turn simple legumes into delicious dairy and meat substitutes. Fermentation breaks down tough compounds in plants, making them easier to digest and adding a burst of flavor that plant-based foods often lack. Let's dive into how fermentation, guided by innovative biosolutions like cultures, is revolutionizing plant-based cuisine. It's creating proteins that grill beautifully and creamy vegurts, plant-based yogurts, packed with probiotics. With each bite, these delightful dishes not only satisfy your taste buds, but also support a growing demand for plant-based foods to help feed the world's increasing population. So, how does fermentation figure in plant-based foods? For thousands of years, humans have been fermenting plant products like fruits, leaves, and roots to create a variety of foods and beverages. For example, wine from fermented grapes, bread from fermented dough, chocolates from fermented cocoa beans, miso from fermented red beans, or kimchi from fermented cabbage. Not to mention the coffee, tea, and olives we love, without even thinking of it as fermented plant-based foods. However, it was only in the early 19th century that scientists discovered that microbes like bacteria and fungi cause fermentation. It took almost another 100 years for research in food science, biochemistry, microbiology, and other fields to understand why certain foods taste, smell, or feel the way they do. And this information has resulted in a revolution in fermented plant-based foods. We will focus on two major food categories where fermented plant-based foods are offering popular alternatives, meat and dairy. To understand this, we'll explore the basics of why meat and milk taste the way they do. Fermentation and flavors, umami and kokumi. If you're a fan of food shows, you must have heard the term umami a lot. Ever wondered what it means? Umami is often called the fifth taste. The other four are sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. Japanese scientist Dr. Kikonai Ikeida first identified the taste and called it umami, which translates into essence of deliciousness. We commonly refer to it as savoriness. Dr. Ikeida linked the umami taste to the presence of glutamate, which is present in all living organisms. Glutamate is a natural chemical categorized as an amino acid in technical terms. If you've used MSG, a household savory flavor enhancer in cooking, you have an idea of what umami tastes like. Kokumi is also a Japanese term, which means rich taste. It is the depth and complexity of the flavors of a food item. It's the difference in richness of flavors when you've been cooking a dish for just 5 minutes versus when you cook it for a longer time. Kokumi is the result of certain amino acids present in peptides, which are building blocks of proteins, present in all living things. Let's take the example of soup. Which soup would you prefer? One made by boiling tomatoes in water for 15 minutes along with some salt and pepper added to it, or a soup made by boiling tomatoes, onions, celery, garlic, herbs, salt, and pepper in water for 1 hour. Obviously, you would choose the second option. Why? Because the second version of soup has more umami, flavors from different vegetables and herbs. It also has more kokumi, richness of flavors due to being boiled for a long time. As food science took on the challenge of finding out what gives meat the meaty taste, they unlocked a secret, umami and kokumi. While other factors, like iron present in the blood, also contribute towards the meaty taste, umami and kokumi are major characteristics of meat taste. And guess which other kinds of foods are high on umami and kokumi? Yes, fermented plant-based foods. As highlighted before, all living organisms have glutamate and peptides. Researchers found that fermentation of plant-based products like cabbage, soy, or red bean heightens the glutamate and peptide content in the final fermented product. This gives rise to umami and kokumi. That's why fermented products like kimchi, soy sauce, and miso are such flavor-packed foods. It did not take long for food producers to realize that fermentation is a key to making plant-based proteins more meat-like in taste. They also realized that fermentation does not just add umami and kokumi to the proteins derived from sources like soy, pea, and wheat. It also reduces or masks the bitter, beany taste of plants. With fermentation, plant-based protein foods are yummier and more flavorful than ever. In this article, we're zooming in on cultures to ferment plant-based foods, But industrially produced enzymes have a lot of tricks up the sleeve too. For instance, enzymes for plant-based meat transform the raw materials, unlocking inherent flavor, texture, and nutritional benefits. Unlike cultures, which are live bacteria, enzymes are natural processing aids that are not functional in the final product. What about the texture of plant-based proteins? When it comes to texture, plant-based proteins like those from peas, soy, or wheat often fall short. They tend to be crumbly and lack the satisfying bounce and firmness of meat. In culinary terms, they're missing that characteristic bite that makes chewing a steak a hearty experience. To understand why, let's compare plant-based proteins to their animal-based counterparts. Think of proteins like buildings made of building blocks. Animal proteins have well-organized structures, like sturdy skyscrapers, where each building block fits neatly together. But plant proteins are more like haphazard constructions of oddly shaped building blocks. These building blocks of proteins are called amino acids. In plant proteins, amino acids do not form cohesive structures like in animals. Hence, their structure is crumbly and soft. During fermentation, the building blocks of proteins, amino acids, undergo a transformation rearranging these haphazardly placed amino acids into organized structures. This restructuring gives plant proteins a firmer texture, like their animal-based counterparts. As a result, fermented plant-based proteins offer a satisfying bite and resilience. When grilled, these proteins caramelize beautifully, adding depth and richness to dishes. Fermentation is caused by microbes like bacteria and fungi converting carbohydrates into energy for survival. For example, when you mix Napa cabbage and spices for fermentation into kimchi, a bacteria called lactobacillus starts eating the carbohydrates present inside the cabbage. Over a few days, the bacteria continue to eat carbohydrates and release an acid called lactic acid as a byproduct. This makes the kimchi pungent and adds an umami flavor to it. Fermentation of plant bases to make alternatives to dairy yogurt. Fermentation has emerged as a game changer in the realm of plant-based vegurts too, impacting the way these dairy alternatives are produced and enjoyed. While vegurts from plant bases derived from nuts and oats are made without fermentation, they also suffer from the issues of poor texture, taste, and mouthfeel. However, with fermentation, all these issues can substantially improve. Scientists recently discovered bacteria varieties in nature that can effectively ferment plant bases into vegurt, just like milk is fermented into traditional dairy yogurt. This was a breakthrough because making plant-based vegurt without fermentation required the addition of starch, oil, and other compounds to bring out a creamy and consistent texture. However, with fermentation, the plant base gets fermented into creamy vegurt with fewer additives. Fermentation also unlocks complex flavors and textures inherent in plant bases, resulting in a vegurt that is both delicious and wholesome. Better health, shorter labels. Apart from improving the texture, taste, bite, and mouthfeel of plant-based foods, fermentation serves two more major purposes: shortening the list of ingredients and unlocking nutrition packed inside plants that otherwise is not accessible. Shorter labels. Plant-based proteins that are not fermented or subjected to enzymatic processing need a host of products added to them for better taste and texture. These might include gum or starch for improving texture, yeast extracts for umami flavor, stabilizers like carrageenan, natural colors and sweeteners or taste enhancers to mask or neutralize undesirable taste notes from plants. Although these products are allowed to be added, most people do not like to see a long list of ingredients. With the help of fermentation or specific enzymes, the ingredient list can be kept short and familiar, with none of the extra taste and texture-enhancing products. Better health. Apart from proteins, plant sources are also packed with a wide range of essential nutrients like vitamins and minerals. However, they are not completely digested by the human gut. That's because plant nutrition is bound within strong structures that are not easy to break down. However, fermentation enables these structures to break down, making the nutrition inside them easily accessible to us. Alongside, enzymatic solutions exist to the same effect. For example, phytates, found in many plant-based foods like grains, legumes, and nuts, can inhibit the absorption of minerals such as iron, zinc, and calcium. However, during fermentation, the phytates are degraded. This increases the availability of minerals for our guts to absorb. Additionally, fermentation can also increase the availability of certain vitamins, such as vitamin B12 and folate, in plant-based foods. Flavor, function, and flexibility. The rise of fermented plant-based foods reflects an exciting shift, not a rejection of tradition, but an expansion of what's possible. Thanks to biosolutions, plant-based options are no longer just alternatives. They're delicious choices in their own right, full of flavor, texture, and creativity. Whether you're all in or just adding more variety to your plate, these innovations make it easier to eat in a way that supports both personal choice and the planet. They also help unlock new sources of protein, a vital step towards feeding a growing world. Fun facts. Sourdough secrets. Ancient Sumerian recipe. Arguably, the world's oldest known recipe for sourdough bread dates back over 4,000 years. It is for a fermented barley bread found in ancient Sumerian clay tablets found among the Yale University Babylonian collection. Clearly, fermented foods have had enduring appeal throughout human history. Koji, Japan's culinary maestro. A fungus with a scientific name, Aspergillus oryza, famously known as koji, was once dubbed as Japan's national fungus by the Journal of the Brewing Society of Japan. It is an essential part of the Japanese culinary culture. Its uses include the making of fermented beverages and condiments, like sake, miso, and shochu. Kimchi versus sauerkraut, fermented cabbage feasts. The average South Korean eats about 37 kilos of kimchi per year. Kimchi is a salted and spiced fermented cabbage dish from Korea that has gained global popularity. In contrast, an average German consumes about 1.17 kilos of sauerkraut, a fermented cabbage delicacy from Germany that traces its roots to China. Sauerkraut is a staple in German and other European diets. Chocolate's hidden journey, fermentation's sweet touch. The delectable taste of chocolate owes itself to fermentation. Once cocoa pods are harvested from the trees, the beans are removed and fermented. This process enhances their chocolatey aroma and flavor. Yeasts and biorefineries, rethinking fuel. Crude oil, often just referred to as oil, is something we encounter every day, but we might not always realize its impact. This dark, thick liquid extracted from wells dug deep into the earth powers our cars, fuels our airplanes, and keeps our ships moving across the oceans. Beyond fuels, oil is the source of many other products we rely on, from plastics and synthetic chemicals to our clothes, cosmetics, wax, solar panels, and even pharmaceutical drugs. It's staggering to think about how much oil we use. In 2023, we extracted around 96 million barrels each day. That's about 15 billion liters, nearly 4 billion gallons, which is like every individual on the planet using roughly 2 liters, half a gallon, of oil every single day. But here's the catch. While oil has been the engine of our modern world, it has become a serious concern. Oil causes irreparable damage to the environment and is a leading cause of climate change. Our dependency on oil is also problematic for many countries' energy security and economy. As global energy demands continue to grow, there is a pressing need to explore innovative and sustainable solutions that support a diversified energy system, promoting economic growth, job creation, and environmental stewardship. One key lies in something called biorefineries. They leverage the power of enzymes derived from microbes, like bacteria and fungi, to transform plants into useful products. Baker's yeast, yes, the same type of yeast you know from your own kitchen, is the unrecognized champion behind these biorefineries. An example of this is the production of plant-based fuels for cars, airplanes, and ships. This could cut our dependence on oil. Why? Because a massive share of every barrel of oil produced, about 87%, is refined to produce transportation fuels. But it's not just about fuels. Plants can also help us create other products that are currently made from oil, like plastics and chemicals. In the upcoming sections, we'll explore what biorefineries are and how they could pave the way for a future that caters to both growth and prosperity, as well as the green transition. But first, let's take a step back to look at the rise of oil. From scavenging to drilling for oil. Did you know that humans have used oil for thousands of years? You might be surprised to know that ancient civilizations, including the Babylonians, Egyptians, and Chinese, used oil for a variety of purposes. These early uses were based on scavenging oil from areas where oil naturally seeped to the surface through cracks in the earth. However, oil did not play a major role in humanity's progress till the second half of the 19th century. It all started in 1859 in the small town of Titusville, Pennsylvania, USA, when a businessman named Edwin Drake used an innovative way to drill the earth to extract oil. Drake's team drilled down 21 meters through the bedrock before striking oil. His invention spurred global commercial interest in drilling oil wells, as oil was no longer a resource that had to be scavenged. It could be extracted as desired. Now that oil was at arm's reach, the next step was to make efficient use of this oil. This takes us to the next chapter of our story, oil refineries. Oil saves whales. Refineries make the world go round. The first electric bulb was invented in 1879. But it was only decades later that households were electrified. So people were using lamps to light up their homes even during the first few decades of the 20th century. Before oil became widely available, people relied on whale fat, or whale oil, to light up their lamps. This practice led to the overhunting of whales, pushing some species to the brink of extinction. However, once oil drilling became widespread and oil availability increased, the dark days of whale hunting for fuel faded. Burning crude oil in lamps came with its own set of problems, smoke and unpleasant odors. This prompted oil producers to refine the oil and provide people with a cleaner fuel. Enter kerosene, the refined oil that burned cleaner and with less oil. Here's some trivia about oil refineries. The process of producing kerosene was pioneered by a Polish pharmacist named Ignacy Łukasiewicz in 1853. He not only developed the world's first kerosene lamp, but also set up the world's first oil refinery in Jasła, Poland in 1856. While it was quite modest, the real game changer came a year later with the first large-scale refinery in Ploiești, Romania. These early refineries started with oil from natural seepages, turning it into usable kerosene. Later, they started refining oil extracted through drilling. News of Edwin Drake's innovative drilling technique spread and sparked a flurry of investment. Industrialists quickly jumped on the bandwagon, building huge refineries across the U.S. and making the most of this newfound oil. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were a golden age for oil refining advancements. Companies like Standard Oil, led by John D. Rockefeller, took refining to new heights. They built massive oil refineries and came up with methods to get more out of every drop of oil. Now, here's a twist in the tale. In the early days, gasoline, petrol, was actually considered a waste product. The first ever gasoline-run automobile was developed by Carl Benz in 1886 and was soon followed by cars developed by various automobile companies. As the number of cars increased, so did the demand for gasoline from oil refineries. Over the years, as the oil refining technology improved, more products were derived from it. This included diesel for diesel-run vehicles and oil-based chemicals needed to make plastics. Oil refineries now transform crude oil into an array of valuable products and byproducts. Here's a quick rundown of some of them and their uses. Transportation. Gas, petrol, diesel, aviation, and marine fuels are used to power vehicles. Heating oil. Fuels furnaces and boilers are used for heating homes and businesses. Liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, is used for heating, cooking, and in some vehicles. Asphalt is used for road construction and roofing materials. Lubricating oils are used to keep engines and machinery running smoothly, including motor oil and gear oil. Petrochemicals are used as building blocks for plastics, synthetic rubber, fibers like nylon and polyester, fertilizers, pesticides, and pharmaceuticals. Naphtha is used to make high-octane gasoline, petrol, and as a solvent in cleaning products. Bitumen is used in road surfacing and waterproofing. Paraffin wax is used in candles, packaging, cosmetics, and as a food coating. As humans marveled at the benefits and the variety of uses for oil, it wasn't long before the scale of its impact on the environment started to become clear. And that's where our next chapter begins, looking at how the oil boom began to take a toll on our planet. Unraveling the environmental impacts of oil. The downside of our oil obsession began to come into focus in the 1950s. Dr. Ari Hagensmit, a clever scientist from Caltech, made a startling discovery. The smog hanging over California was actually due to exhaust from cars. This was a big moment because it brought the term air pollution into the public conversation. People were starting to realize that burning oil and other fossil fuels wasn't just about fuel and power. It had some serious environmental and health impacts too. But the wake-up call didn't stop there. In 1967, the oil tanker Torrey Canyon ran aground off Cornwall's coast, spilling over 37 million gallons of crude oil into the sea. Then, in 1989, the Exxon Valdez spill took place, spilling around 11 million gallons of oil into Prince William Sound in Alaska. The heartbreaking images of oil-covered birds and sea otters brought the harsh reality of oil's impact right into the living rooms of people. By the late 1980s, scientists like James Hansen from NASA were connecting the dots between global warming and the burning of fossil fuels like oil. In 1988, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, was set up to study climate change. In its 1992 report, the IPCC pointed out that the burning of fossil fuels like oil, gas, and coal was one of the primary contributors to the rise in carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, contributing to global warming. As we move into the 21st century, the evidence of oil's impact becomes ever more glaring. Now, according to the UN, almost 90% of global carbon dioxide emissions are due to the burning of fossil fuels, which includes oil, coal, and gas. Imagine if we could move away from digging deep into the earth for oil and instead rely on something that's all around us and can be replenished naturally, like plants. Well, this isn't just a pipe dream, it's a reality, thanks to something called biorefineries. In the next sections, we'll explore how these refineries work and how plants might just be a key to a greener, less oil-dependent future. Turning every part of plants into resources. To understand the purpose and function of biorefineries, you must first learn something marvelous about the hunting practices followed by some indigenous tribes. Due to their profound respect for nature, they use every part of a hunted animal's body: meat for food, hide for clothing and shelter, bones for tools, and even ligaments for binding materials. This holistic approach not only honors the animal, but ensures that nothing goes to waste, as every part has some utility. You can argue that biorefineries operate on a similar philosophy, breaking down plants into their various components and converting each one into valuable products. The common practice across the world is we take whatever is the most easily usable part of a plant or a tree, fruits, timber, or seeds, and throw some of the rest away. For example, we harvest corn kernels and the cane from sugar cane, but often waste the husks, leaves, and stalks. What happens to the unused parts of the plants? Most of it is condemned as waste or is incinerated. This wasteful use of plants offers an opportunity for improvement. For example, plants use a lot of resources to grow, including water, fertilizers, and soil nutrients. The more the whole plant is used, including what is often considered waste, the more value we get from each resource. This is where biorefineries come into the picture. Here, plants are stripped down to their fundamental components and transformed into a range of valuable products, thus ensuring their maximum utilization. But what are these components into which plants are stripped down, and what are their uses? Think of plants and trees like buildings. Buildings are constructed from materials such as bricks, cement, wood, and metal, each serving a unique purpose. Similarly, plants are made up of different materials at the molecular level that give each part, stem, roots, leaves, shoots, trunk, and fruits, its specific texture and function. Let's explore some of these important building blocks. Cellulose. Imagine the rigid, sturdy concrete beams of a house. Cellulose acts like these beams, providing structural support to the plant. Hemicellulose. Like how cement ensures all bricks in a wall are well attached to each other, hemicellulose binds cellulose fibers together, providing strength and flexibility to plants. Lignin. Lignin is the substance that gives the wood in tree trunks their strength and durability. It provides rigidity and structural support, helping plants stay upright and resist decay. Starch. Picture starch as the plant's stored energy, similar to saving snacks for later. It's what makes fruits sweet, cereals sticky, and potatoes dense. Starch acts as a reserve of energy that plants can use when needed. So, what makes biorefineries so effective at breaking down plants and turning them into useful products? The key is enzymes and yeast. Enzymes are natural catalytic proteins found in all living organisms, from tiny microbes like bacteria and yeast to plants, animals, and humans. Biorefineries use enzymes from microbes to break down plants into their various components. Here are a few examples of enzymes used in biorefineries. Cellulases. These enzymes break down cellulose from plant fibers, like stalks, into sugar. The sugar can then be fermented into ethanol, a cleaner fuel alternative to gasoline. Amylases. These enzymes convert starch from materials like corn kernels and sweet potatoes into sugar, which can be turned into ethanol. Proteases. These enzymes break down proteins in peptides and amino acids, which can increase the release of distillers' corn oil. This oil is a feedstock for renewable diesel and SAF, sustainable aviation fuel. Once the enzymes have done their job, it's the turn of yeast to show its magic by fermenting these broken down plant components into useful products. Humans have shared a relationship with yeast for thousands of years. Yeast-driven fermentation has given us many solutions that have enriched our lives. It also holds a key to securing our future, including against climate change. Another type of biorefinery is known as a wet mill. In a wet mill, corn is first steeped in a liquid to soften the kernels. The softened corn is ground and processed into separate components such as starch, gluten, and fiber. The extracted components can then be refined into a range of products, including human and animal edible foods like high fructose corn syrup, corn oil, and corn gluten meal. Wet mills allow for the efficient use of each part of the corn, maximizing its value and providing a diverse array of food and industrial products. Helping reduce oil dependence. The biggest benefit of biorefineries is that they provide a way of using plants to produce a host of products for which we have been mainly reliant on oil. These include biofuels. Biorefineries are at the forefront of producing transportation fuels from plants. This goes a long way, as biofuels emit between 19% and 86% less greenhouse gases than gasoline, petrol. The biofuels derived from plants in biorefineries include ethanol. Derived from crops like corn and sugarcane, ethanol is commonly blended with gasoline to reduce emissions and dependence on fossil fuels. Biodiesel. Produced from vegetable oils, municipal sludge, and algae, biodiesel can be used in diesel engines. It offers a cleaner alternative to petroleum diesel. Sustainable aviation fuels, SAF. Ethanol produced in biorefineries or waste cooking oil can be further processed into SAF. Bioplastics. Plastics are essential in modern life, but most are made from oil. Biorefineries can help create plastics from renewable resources like polylactic acid, PLA, which is made from fermented plant sugars. PLA is used in items like packaging and disposable cutlery, providing a biodegradable alternative to conventional plastics. Bio-based chemicals. Many chemicals are derived from oil, but biorefineries can produce these from plant-based sources. One such chemical is succinic acid, a versatile chemical found in household cleaning products, pharmaceuticals, and food additives. Biochar and agricultural inputs. Biorefineries also produce biochar from plant residues and organic waste. Biochar, a form of charcoal, if you will, enhances soil fertility and reduces the need for synthetic fertilizers, which are often petroleum-based. Biogas. Biogas produced from plants with the help of enzymes and microbes can be used for heating or electricity, offering an alternative to natural gas. Animal feed. Dried distillers' grains with solubles, DDGs, are a byproduct from ethanol production and can be used as high-quality feed for livestock. Embracing plants and enzymes. Crude oil has undeniably shaped human civilization, driving progress and innovation. However, its environmental toll and contribution to climate change have become impossible to ignore. The call for cleaner, greener alternatives has led us to the groundbreaking realm of biorefineries. By harnessing the transformative power of enzymes, we can transform plants and other organic waste into biofuels, bioplastics, and bio-based chemicals. As the world transitions towards a more diverse and sustainable energy mix to meet the growing needs for energy, as well as lowering carbon emissions. Biorefineries based on feedstock. Biorefineries can vary depending on the kind of feedstocks, raw materials that are to be refined into specialized products. Based on the kind of feedstock, biorefineries are divided into first, second, or third generations. First generation. The feedstock in these are mainly food crops, especially those rich in starch and/or sugar content, like corn and sugarcane. Second generation. The feedstock can be any non-food plant source, such as stalks or leaves of plants, waste from agricultural fields, or even shaved timber chips. Third generation. Here, the technology for refining raw materials is the most advanced, as the feedstocks can be any organic matter like municipal solid waste or industrial waste gases. Why biofuels in the age of electric vehicles? While hearing this story, did you wonder, why do we need fuels from plants when the world is transitioning to electric vehicles? Well, despite the increasing attention electric vehicles, EVs, receive, their share in the global automobile market is still relatively low. According to the International Energy Agency, only 18% of all cars sold in 2023 were electric vehicles, and most of these sales were concentrated in just a handful of countries. While EVs are indeed growing in popularity, a significant portion of the world's automobile population still relies on gas, petrol, and diesel. Due to, for example, infrastructure challenges, this will be the case many years ahead. Biosolutions and agriculture, feeding the future. The global population is projected to soar to about 10 billion people by 2050, posing a significant challenge. How do we farm enough food to feed everyone? The impacts of climate change on agriculture compound this challenge. We need solutions that not only boost food production, but also protect the environment and lessen the burden on our planet. Is there a solution that can help solve this complexity? Surprisingly, yes. It lies in the bacteria and fungi living in the soil. These tiny organisms are already making agricultural practices more environmentally friendly and helping farmers increase their crop yields. Before we explore how bacteria and fungi can transform agriculture and help feed 10 billion people, let's understand the current challenges in farming. Feeding our future without harming the environment. Feeding a growing population isn't a new challenge for global policymakers. They successfully addressed a similar crisis, but it came with serious collateral damage. Back in 1960, the world's population hit 3 billion, causing widespread panic. Why? Because it took 123 years, from 1804 to 1927, for the world to grow from 1 billion to 2 billion people. But it only took 33 years to jump from 2 billion to 3 billion. Many countries couldn't grow enough food and depended heavily on grain imports to feed their populations. Predictions of catastrophic famines loomed large. However, thanks to the dedicated efforts of individuals, organizations, and government agencies, a series of measures were implemented globally. They led to a tremendous boost in agricultural productivity, a movement known as the Green Revolution. The key components of this revolution included the widespread use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, improved irrigation facilities, and high-yield seed varieties. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, between 1970 and 1990, fertilizer use surged by 360%, and pesticide use increased by 7 to 8% per year in developing countries. Global cereal yields rose from 1.4 metric tons per hectare in the early 1960s to 2.7 metric tons per hectare in 1989 to 91. In Asia, the most populous continent, cereal yields jumped from just above 1,000 kilograms per hectare to over 2,500 kilograms per hectare. However, this heavy reliance on fertilizers and pesticides contributed to the pollution of waterways, cases of poisoning agricultural workers, and a decline in soil quality as well as biodiversity. Moreover, the production and use of fertilizers and pesticides contribute significantly to climate change. For example, nitrogen fertilizers account for nearly 5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Their use in agriculture releases nitrous oxide, a gas 300 times more potent than carbon dioxide in warming the planet. Despite their drawbacks, fertilizers and pesticides remain crucial for growing more food. Their use has increased dramatically, and an estimated 30 to 60% of the food we eat is grown with the help of fertilizers. Therefore, to feed 10 billion people by 2050, we cannot simply increase pesticide and fertilizer use in agriculture. We need solutions that can replace or reduce our dependence on these chemicals while still boosting agricultural productivity. Adapting agriculture to climate change. Climate change is already disrupting agriculture, making it harder for farmers to sustain their livelihoods. According to a recent study published in the journal Nature Climate Change, global agricultural productivity is 21% lower than it would be without the impacts of climate change. The losses are even more pronounced in warmer regions, with agricultural productivity declining by 34% in Africa and 26% in Latin America due to climate change. Climate change affects agriculture in several ways. Rising temperatures. Higher temperatures cause heat stress on crops, reducing their growth and yield. Each degree Celsius increase in global temperature could lower yields of major staple crops by 6% for wheat, 3.2% for rice, 7.4% for corn, and 3.1% for soybeans. declining soil quality. Climate change impacts the soil quality as well. This can vary from region to region, including degradation due to soil erosion, desertification due to loss of moisture, and reduced ability of soil to absorb water. It can even impact microbes living in the soil essential for plant growth. Frequent droughts. Droughts are becoming more common and severe due to climate change, leading to water scarcity for irrigation. According to the World Bank, drought conditions are expected to increase by up to 60% in some parts of the world by 2100, significantly affecting crop productivity. Increase in pest attacks. Warmer temperatures and changing precipitation patterns create favorable conditions for pests and diseases to thrive. Research published in Nature Climate Change estimates that crop losses due to insect pests will increase by 10 to 25% per degree Celsius of warming, with the greatest impacts in temperate regions. Erratic and extreme rainfalls. Unpredictable and extreme weather patterns, such as sudden heavy rains or prolonged dry spells, disrupt farming schedules and damage crops. Climate change is considered a culprit for the rise in the frequency and intensity of heavy rains, causing flash floods across many regions, especially in North America, Europe, and Asia. And with the rising temperatures, the situation is expected to worsen. Understanding these challenges sets the stage for exploring innovative solutions like bioag. Harnessing the power of soil microbes. Now that we've outlined the challenges in achieving higher agricultural productivity, let's explore how soil bacteria and fungi can help. Plants first appeared on Earth around 500 million years ago and have since evolved into about 400,000 species, thriving in diverse environments, from the Arctic tundra to scorching deserts and salty seas. How did they manage this? With a balanced diet of sunlight, water, and soil-rich minerals and microbes like bacteria and fungi. They didn't need fertilizers or pesticides. However, in agriculture, things are different. We want every plant to grow perfectly and produce abundant food: wheat, rice, corn, peanuts, and more. We don't apply the survival of the fittest rule to our crops. We want every plant to be fit. Thus, human intervention with manure, irrigation, fertilizers, and pesticides became necessary. Given the impacts of fertilizers and pesticides and the need for resilient crops in the face of climate change, scientists sought ways to strengthen plants from within, to provide them with a balanced meal. The answer lay in soil bacteria and fungi. Scientists discovered that numerous bacteria, fungi, and other microbes in the soil, invisible to the naked eye, are key to making plants robust from the inside. These microbes enable plants to absorb essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus from the soil. They also regulate many plant functions, including disease resistance. So instead of adding chemicals to the soil, scientists thought, what if we added beneficial bacteria and fungi to let nature strengthen the plants? This would help plants produce more food and become more resilient to pests, mirroring the effects of fertilizers and pesticides, but without the harmful chemicals. Exploring bioag through real-world examples. 1. Microbes as fertilizers. Fertilizers provide essential nutrients to plants, primarily nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Soil contains various bacteria that help plants absorb these nutrients, but soil quality and microbial availability can vary greatly from one region to another. Additionally, large fields with many plants competing for nutrients and the impacts of climate change can weaken plants and degrade soil quality. However, adding beneficial microbes to the soil in the right quantities can be a game changer. Products that use microbes to promote plant growth are known as biostimulants. One such biostimulant that helps farmers improve the quality of their crops combines 3 microbes: a bacterium called Bacillus amyloliquefaciens and 2 fungi, Penicillium bilei and Trichoderma virens. These 3 microbes work together to enhance plants' ability to absorb nutrients from the soil, resulting in healthier plants and higher crop yields. Studies found that the biostimulant can increase wheat yields by as much as 3.8 bushels per acre. The Penicillium bilei can also work wonders on its own. It is included in another popular biostimulant used in farming. This fungus promotes root development in plants by making more phosphate available in the soil. Research has shown that its use on pea plants increased the amount of root hair by 22% and the length of root hairs by 33%. But how do longer and larger roots help plants? Well, they make it easier for plants to find water during droughts and hold on to nutrients when it rains a lot. Moreover, using this roots-enhancing biostimulant can both increase the efficiency and reduce the need for phosphate fertilizers in farming, which is great for the environment. Studies show that it can lower carbon dioxide emissions by 15% in corn production. If every cornfield in the U.S. used the biostimulant, it would cut carbon emissions by 4 million metric tons. That's like taking 952,007 petrol-powered cars off the road for an entire year. Also, up to 90% of phosphate from chemical fertilizers is unused by plants. A large portion of this unused fertilizer ends up in freshwater bodies, causing water pollution. By making more phosphate available to plants, biostimulants help reduce the inefficiencies of chemical fertilizers, thus reducing the fertilizer runoff into water bodies. 2. Microbes as pesticides. Did you know that just 1 gram of soil can contain up to 10 billion microbes, including 1 billion bacteria? Apart from bacteria, you can also find in soil fungi tiny worms called nematodes, and even viruses. While some of these microbes are essential for plant survival, others can cause diseases in them or even prove fatal. Fortunately, some good microbes have the power to eliminate the bad microbes. Good microbes protect plants against bad microbes in 3 ways: producing antibiotics that kill harmful microbes, consuming nutrients in the soil needed by bad microbes, effectively starving them, inducing resistance in plants, strengthening their ability to fight off diseases. Biotechnology has advanced to a point where scientists can identify beneficial microbes that naturally eliminate harmful ones in the soil. These harmful microbes can be supplied to farmers as an eco-friendly way to protect their crops from potential damage caused by harmful microbes. This reduces the farmer's reliance on chemical pesticides, promoting healthier farming practices. These beneficial microbes, when used for crop protection, are known as biocontrol products. For instance, one commonly used biocontrol product contains the bacterium Bacillus subtilis of the variety amyloliquefaciens, which can shield plants from over a dozen diseases by creating a protective barrier around the plants. Another example is Streptomyces lidocus, a bacterium that thrives both on the plant's surface and its roots. offering continuous protection from harmful microbes in the air and soil. These biocontrol products not only help prevent crop loss, but also support sustainable agriculture by reducing the need for chemical pesticides. As we've seen, bioag solutions offer a promising path forward. But what does this mean for the future of agriculture and food security? The promise of bioag for global food security. The need for sustainable, efficient agricultural practices is more critical than ever. Bioag, the use of beneficial bacteria and fungi in agriculture, represents a transformative approach. By leveraging these natural allies, we can boost plant growth, improve nutrient absorption, and enhance resilience against climate change and pests. The beauty of bioag lies in its simplicity and alignment with nature. Instead of battling against nature and synthetic chemicals, bioag is working with it, harnessing the power of tiny microbes to achieve big results. Bioag not only nurtures plants from the inside out, but also supports healthier ecosystems. It is in harmony with how ecosystems evolved over millions of years. As we look forward, embracing bioag could help transform our food security narrative from a daunting challenge to a manageable journey. The journey to feeding 10 billion people may be daunting, but with bioag as our ally, we have a natural tool to help pave the way. Fun facts. Non-human farmers. It's not just humans who perform farming or use biocontrol measures. A species of ants called the leafcutter ants, found primarily in Central and South America, cut leaves and bring them back to their colonies, not to eat, but to create their fungal gardens, which serve as their main food source. They meticulously care for their fungus and even use some good bacteria as biocontrol measures to fight against pests. Self-defense for microbes, antibiotics for humans. Long before humans discovered antibiotics, soil microbes were already producing them. One of them is the bacteria species Streptomyces, which produces the majority of antibiotics used by humans today. These microbes have been synthesizing antibiotics for millions of years to compete against other soil microbes and eliminate harmful competitors. Urban farming pioneers. Did you know that during World War II, victory gardens played a crucial role in ensuring food security in many countries? These were small home and community gardens that sprung up across the nation, where citizens would grow their own food. Families gathered to plant, tend, and harvest the produce. In the U.S., victory gardens were the source of almost 40% of the entire vegetable supply. Green Revolution hero. Norman Borlaug is often hailed as the father of the Green Revolution for developing high-yield, disease-resistant wheat varieties. His innovative research is credited with saving over 1 billion people from starvation, particularly in countries facing food crises. Borlaug was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. Biosolutions and textile production, making textile production more sustainable. It's becoming clear that we need to take corrective steps fast, across the board. Just as our choices in, for instance, food consumption, transportation, energy usage, waste management, and water conservation have consequences, have you ever thought about how your clothes could be impacting the environment? The jeans you live in, the hoodie that's your go-to, even that suit you wear to work. Many of them start with natural fibers like cotton. But despite the natural origin, harsh chemicals are deeply embedded in the textile industry's value chain, from the very start of the process through to the finished product. And they don't just disappear when the clothes hit the racks. They stay in the clothes and, moreover, seep into the environment from the factories, ending up in our rivers, lakes, and oceans. The textile industry is not only one of the largest consumers of water globally, but also one of the biggest contributors to freshwater pollution, accounting for nearly 20% of industrial water contamination worldwide. Let's take a step back. This isn't a new problem. It's been around since the days of the Industrial Revolution. Remember hearing about cities like Bradford, England during history lessons? It was the wool capital of the world back in the 1800s, but it came with a price. The pollution was so bad that the Bradford Canal would sometimes catch fire. Or look at Manchester, nicknamed Cottonopolis for its booming textile industry and becoming the world's first industrialized city. By 1860, the river Irwell that flows along the city was so clogged with industrial waste that the riverbed was rising by 3 inches each year. Can you imagine what it must have looked like? Fast forward to today. The textile industry has made good progress, but with an ever-increasing global fiber production, there's still a long way to go. The good news? Some innovative solutions are stepping up to the challenge. One of the most promising is biosolutions, which are biological alternatives to the chemicals traditionally used in textile manufacturing. And best of all, they are economical and available today. But what exactly are these biosolutions, and how are they helping the industry, improving the environmental impact? You'll learn all about it, but first, let's look at why, in the first place, the textile industry relies on chemicals, of which some are very harsh for the environment. While we will be referring to fashion, it's important to note that the textile industry's impact on the environment goes far beyond the world of high fashion. This also encompasses everyday traditional garments chosen by those who don't consider themselves fashion enthusiasts. The textile industry's environmental footprint is a concern for everyone, irrespective of their fashion preferences. What are the steps of textile manufacturing? Have you ever wondered what it takes to transform raw materials like cotton or wool into the vibrant, stylish clothes you wear? The journey from plant fibers or animal wool to finished fabric is quite complex. It involves several stages of processing, and here's where chemicals come into play. To keep it simple, textile manufacturing can be divided into 3 stages: pre-treatment, dyeing and printing, finishing. Each stage relies on chemicals to achieve the desired textures, colors, and finishes. But here's the catch. These chemicals can take a heavy toll on the environment. In fact, studies show that 45% of the total chemical waste in textile manufacturing is generated during the preparatory stage, 33% during dyeing and printing, and the remaining 22% during finishing. Let's look at why chemicals are needed at these different stages of textile manufacturing. Preparatory stage. Have you ever thought about what raw cotton or wool looks like before it's turned into fabric? It's full of impurities. Think dirt, animal fat, plant material, and even pesticides. The first step in preparing these fibers is a process called scouring, essentially a deep clean. But it's not as simple as throwing it in a washing machine. This process uses detergents along with toxic chemicals and caustic soda. Can you imagine the amount of detergents and chemicals needed to get these raw materials ready? Another key process in this stage is bleaching. Natural fibers aren't bright white. They usually have a creamy hue. To achieve the crisp, clean white that can later be dyed any color, fibers are bleached using hydrogen peroxide. Sounds familiar, right? It's the same chemical used in some household cleaning products and also as an antiseptic. Dyeing and printing stage. Let's talk color, because who doesn't love a bold, eye-catching fabric? But have you ever wondered how those vibrant colors get onto your clothes? The dyeing and printing stage is where the magic happens, turning plain textiles into vibrant pieces of clothing. However, This process also comes with a high environmental cost. To get the fabric dyed, massive amounts of water and chemicals are used. For instance, reactive dyes, commonly used for cotton, need salt and alkali to fix the color into the fibers. That's right, we're not just talking about applying some paint and calling it a day. The chemical process is complex and intense. Unfortunately, not all the dye sticks to the fabric. A large portion of it, along with excess chemicals, ends up in the wastewater. So, next time you see a brightly colored shirt, think about the colored water it leaves behind. And then there's printing. If dyeing is like painting a wall, printing is like creating a detailed mural. The textile printing process adds patterns or designs to fabric using a range of synthetic dyes and pigments. But here's the kicker. The binders and thickeners used in printing can also contain hazardous chemicals like azo dyes and formaldehyde. What's worse, these chemicals don't just vanish after the fabric is printed. They can leach out during washing and contaminate freshwater resources. Textile dyeing and printing contribute significantly to the pollution of rivers in some parts of the world. Finishing stage. The last stage in textile manufacturing is all about perfecting the fabric's feel and functionality. After all, who wants stiff, scratchy clothes? The finishing stage ensures that your fabric is soft, smooth, and crisp, water repellent, or even flame retardant. But here's a question. What's used to achieve all these effects? You guessed it, more chemicals. One common process is softening. Chemicals called silicones and quaternary ammonium compounds are used to make fabric feel soft to the touch. While they leave the fabric smooth and comfortable, these chemicals can linger long after the fabric leaves the factory. Waterproofing or flame retardant finishes often involve chemicals like perfluorinated compounds, PFCs. These chemicals are particularly worrisome because they don't break down easily and can persist in the environment for years. While these finishes make fabrics more practical, the trade-off is significant. Every time we wash these clothes, tiny amounts of these chemicals wash out, making their way into our water system. Over time, they accumulate, leading to long-lasting environmental harm. Reducing the textile industry's reliance on harsh chemicals with biosolutions. The examples of chemicals used in the textile industry shared before are just a glimpse into the massive array of substances involved in fabric production. While not every chemical can be swapped out for biosolutions, many innovative alternatives have surfaced over the years, effectively reducing or even eliminating some of the most harmful chemicals and practices in the industry. Let's explore a few compelling examples. Take denim jeans, for instance, one of the most popular clothing items worldwide. For decades, the iconic faded and worn look was achieved using pumice stones, which are volcanic rocks mined from the earth. Manufacturers would toss these stones into large washing machines along with the jeans, creating that signature look. However, as demand for jeans skyrocketed, pumice stone mining began to wreak havoc on the environment, leaving many landscapes scarred. To address this, manufacturers turned to chemicals like sodium hypochlorite or bleach to achieve the same aesthetic. While this reduced reliance on pumice stones, it introduced new problems. Excess bleach would often end up in the environment, polluting water bodies and endangering aquatic life. Biostoning rocks. In the 1980s, an innovative biosolution emerged, an enzyme called cellulase, derived from fungi. Researchers discovered that washing jeans with cellulase achieved the same faded appearance as pumice stones or bleach, but without harming the environment. This process, known as biostoning, quickly gained popularity and began to replace traditional chemicals-based methods. By the 1990s, another enzyme, lactase, was found to be effective in giving genes its signature look. Studies revealed that using these enzymes instead of pumice stones or bleach not only cut down on environmental impact, but also reduced water and energy usage by up to 90%, benefiting manufacturers financially. But biosolutions don't just help minimize pollution, they also enhance the longevity of our clothes. By maintaining the quality of fabrics for longer, they play a vital role in tackling the issue of textile waste. Did you know that China discards approximately 26 million metric tons of clothing each year, while the EU discards around 7 million metric tons? Many of these discarded items end up in landfills or worse, like the staggering 39,000 metric tons of clothing dumped in Chile's Atacama Desert. So, how exactly do biosolutions extend the life of our clothes? One shining example is the process of biopolishing. This technique involves using enzymes to trim away loose fibers from fabrics, eliminating that pesky fuzziness commonly seen on cotton clothes. Think of biopolishing as a beauty treatment for your garments. It makes them look smoother, finer, and brand new, with effects that last longer than unpolished fabric. The magic ingredient in this process is cellulase. Studies show that biopolishing can extend the lifespan of cotton garments by at least 20% and help clothes made from fibers derived from natural materials like wood pulp keep looking new and fresh for up to 60 washes. Long-lasting clothes are a boon for our planet. A report titled Valuing Our Clothes by the organization WRAP, W-R-A-P, highlights that extending the lifespan of just half of the clothes in the UK by 9 months could lead to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 8%, a 10% decrease in water use, and a 4% drop in textile waste per ton of clothing, as less clothes would need to be produced. Biosolutions transforming textile manufacturing. Biosolutions like cellulase are reshaping the textile industry, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. The quest for cleaner, greener alternatives has ignited a race among researchers to uncover a treasure trove of enzymes that can further reduce textile manufacturers' reliance on harmful chemicals. From enhancing the durability of fabrics to replacing harsh substances, these enzymes have the potential to revolutionize textile manufacturing. Remember the 3 stages of textile production we discussed earlier? Preparatory, dyeing and printing, and finishing? Most biosolutions that presently exist and are helping the textile industry wean off chemicals are found in the preparatory and finishing stages, while research is still ongoing to innovate biosolutions for dyeing and printing. Let's delve deeper. The vigorous cleaning of raw cotton or wool, known as scouring, and the bleaching process that makes them sparkling white are the main culprits behind the high chemical and energy usage in the preparatory stage. Thankfully, there are now several biosolutions available to replace the harsh chemicals in these processes. For instance, pectinase is an enzyme that effectively dissolves biological impurities and is used for cleaning raw cotton and wool, requiring up to 67% less water and 50% less energy than conventional methods. This process, unsurprisingly named bioscouring, significantly lightens the environmental burden. Another noteworthy enzyme, catalase, is proving to be an effective biosolution in ridding clothes of bleach after bleaching. When cotton or wool fibers are bleached to perfect white, a lot of bleach is left behind in the fibers. To remove this residual bleach, catalase is used. However, one of the most pressing issues in textile manufacturing is the discharge of unused dyes from factories. These dyes seep into rivers, lakes, and other water bodies, wreaking havoc on aquatic life. In many regions, textile industries have turned water bodies blue with excess dyes from jeans and other products. Here, too, Biosolutions offer hope. Peroxidase, an enzyme with a remarkable ability to eliminate unused dyes from wastewater, is currently being researched as a viable solution for textile factories. While peroxidase is already making waves as a substitute for bleaching chemicals, its potential in wastewater treatment is still unfolding. Envisioning a green makeover of the textile industry. Biosolutions are not just a trend, they are a force that could transform the textile industry. As the textile industry embraces this paradigm shift, the path to a more sustainable textile industry becomes clearer. Each step taken with Biosolutions reinforces our responsibility to the environment and empowers us to wear clothes that last and have less impact on the environment every day. Fun facts. Fashion through the ages. Did you know that the oldest known piece of clothing that exists dates back over 5,000 years? It is a linen dress from the ancient Egypt. Crafted from the fibers of the flax plant, this remarkable garment was discovered in the Tarkhan burial site near Cairo and reflects the skill of ancient textile production. It's fascinating to think about how this early fashion statement paved the way for the textiles we wear today. Ancient South Americans and indigo dye. Ancient South Americans were dyeing fabrics long before it was trendy. Archaeology researchers discovered scraps of a 6,000-year-old woven cotton piece from Peru, which boasts a blue hue from the indigo dye, making it the oldest known example of color-fast dye usage. Color-fast dyeing techniques ensure that colors stick to fabrics, preventing fading even after countless washes. This discovery pushed back the timeline of color-fast dyeing techniques by 1,600 years, proving that fashion isn't just about the fabric, it's about the color too. Microbes in fashion. Researchers are collaborating with various bacteria that can produce pigments in a range of colors to create eco-friendly alternatives to the chemical-based dyes currently used in the textile industry. Like the bacteria Serratia marcescens, which is known for its striking red pigment. Additionally, studies are underway to develop textiles from microbes, including a fabric known as bacterial cellulose. Biosolutions and health, exploring the influence of your gut microbiome. From the moment we are born, our bodies become a prime destination for an incredible variety of microorganisms. These tiny life forms, bacteria, fungi, and viruses, begin colonizing us right away, starting with the process of us being born, followed by skin contact through our mother's touch, just as mother's milk is introduced into our system. This early microbial exposure plays a crucial role in shaping our immune system, influencing our health and development throughout our lives. As we grow, we encounter more microorganisms from everything around us: people, food, and even the surfaces we touch. Some of these microorganisms stick around for good, establishing permanent homes in various areas of our body, such as our nose, mouth, gut, skin, and genitals. Collectively, these microbial communities are known as microbiomes. And among all these microbiomes, the gut microbiome is the most populated. This is where our story begins, inside the gut. home to billions of microorganisms that shape not only digestion, but also immunity, metabolism, and overall health. By the time you finish hearing this, you may find yourself rethinking what it means to have a gut feeling. The gut, prime real estate for microorganisms. The gut microbiome typically refers to the community of microorganisms in organs like the esophagus, the food pipe connecting our throat to the stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. However, the large intestine, or colon, is where most of the action happens. This area is the most densely populated microbial habitat in the body. For example, while each milliliter of fluid in the large intestine can contain anywhere between 10 billion to 100 billion bacteria, the numbers drop dramatically in the small intestine to around 10,000 to 100 million bacteria per milliliter, and less than 1,000 bacteria per milliliter in the stomach. This significant concentration in the large intestine is why so much of the research on gut health focuses on this part of the body, which is not only the most densely packed with microorganisms, but also plays a central role in maintaining our overall health. So, what does this all mean for you and your health? Let's explore the importance of these microorganisms and their role in our well-being. Why does the gut microbiome matter? If you gathered all the bacteria from your gut microbiome and weighed them, you'd find they add up to around 1 to 2 kilograms, roughly the weight of your liver. That is a lot of microscopic beings. But it's not just about the sheer number of microorganisms in the gut. It's about the vital roles they play. These microorganisms are far from passive tenants. They're active, engaged partners, working hard to keep us thriving. Some of the bacteria in our gut produce essential molecules that travel through the bloodstream to the brain, influencing everything from mood to memory. This is why the gut microbiome is considered a key player in mental health. But that's not all. The gut microbiome also plays a starring role in immune health. Around 70 to 80% of the body's immune cells reside in the gut. This makes a thriving microbiome essential for defending against infections and maintaining overall immunity. And it doesn't stop there. As we learn more about the science of the microbiome, we realize how many diseases are linked to the microbiome. Lifestyle diseases, including diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. Indeed, as researchers continue to unravel the complexities of the gut microbiome, we're discovering more about how these microorganisms influence nearly every aspect of our health. While the science is still evolving, one thing is clear. A healthy gut microbiome is crucial for our well-being. Let's now dive into one of the most fascinating aspects of gut health, the gut-brain axis. The gut-brain axis. One of the most fascinating revelations about the gut microbiome is its role in the gut-brain axis, a constant communication channel between your gut and brain, and that they use to regulate each other. When your gut is happy, it can positively affect your mood and mental state. Conversely, an unhappy brain can lead to issues like constipation. You may be wondering how your gut, which you've always thought of as a place for digestion and waste elimination, can possibly communicate with the brain. The gut contains a vast network of neurons, tiny cells that, when connected, form nerves and help transmit signals throughout the body. In fact, there are about 600 million neurons in the gut, and this complex network is called the enteric nervous system, ENS. So independent and sophisticated, the ENS is often referred to as the second brain. It's the only part of the body outside the brain with such a highly developed network of neurons. The ENS manages everything from moving food through the digestive tract to monitoring gut health in real time, without needing direct input from the brain. But this doesn't mean the ENS works in isolation. It communicates with the brain every second through the vagus nerve, a kind of superhighway for signals traveling between the gut and the brain. This two-way communication explains sensations like butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous, or the gut discomfort you may feel during stressful times. Now, given this constant chatter between the gut and brain, do you think the trillions of microorganisms in your gut will remain passive? Absolutely not. These gut microorganisms are active participants in this ongoing dialogue. They produce chemicals that influence brain function, affecting mood, mental health, and stress levels. Conversely, a stressed brain will send signals that affect your gut, potentially causing problems like constipation or bloating. It's a dynamic, bidirectional system where the state of your gut microbiome directly affects how you feel, and vice versa. Research into the gut-brain axis has made one thing clear. Microorganisms don't just live quietly in your gut. They are active, vocal contributors to your brain's health and emotional well-being. This connection is facilitated by a variety of direct and indirect pathways, and the effects are more profound than we ever imagined. Let's explore a few examples of how microorganisms in your gut influence your health through the gut-brain axis. Mood influencers and mental health champions. Ever felt a sudden burst of calm after a deep breath? Or that rewarding thrill when you hit a personal goal? Those feelings, whether it's relaxation before tackling a challenge or the sense of achievement afterwards, are fueled by chemicals in your body called serotonin and dopamine. Often referred to as the feel-good chemicals, they are crucial for maintaining mood, motivation, and emotional balance. But here's something surprising. Your gut has a significant role in the production of these mood-regulating chemicals. It's not just a silent bystander digesting food and processing waste. It's a bustling hub of activity that teams up with the microorganisms living inside it to influence your mental well-being. At any given time, your gut hosts around 500 to 1,000 species of bacteria, and among these, some like Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and Staphylococcus play key roles in influencing serotonin and dopamine levels in your body. But how do these tiny microorganisms, living so far from the brain, manage to influence your mood? Let's break it down. Direct impact. The gut as a serotonin factory. The gut is home to special cells called enterochromaffin cells. Think of these as tiny factories that produce serotonin with some help from the bacteria in your intestines. While this serotonin doesn't directly enter your brain, it's mostly used to regulate gut functions. It still plays a vital role in gut-brain communication. How does it work? Through the gut-brain axis, a two-way communication system that constantly shares information between your gut and your brain. Serotonin from the gut can signal the brain to stay calm or sound the alarm if something is off, like low levels of serotonin in the body. When your gut microorganisms are thriving, these signals work like a charm, keeping stress in check and emotions balanced. But if your gut's microbial ecosystem becomes unbalanced, a condition known as dysbiosis, serotonin production can falter. This imbalance doesn't just affect your mood. It can also lead to physical symptoms like constipation or irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, a condition that affects about 1 in 10 people worldwide. Indirect impact. Microbial support for mood molecules. Your gut microbiome is an active participant in keeping your mental health balanced. One way it does this is by producing critical chemicals such as tryptophan and tyrosine, known as precursors, because they are the raw materials your brain uses to create serotonin and dopamine, as it cannot use the serotonin and dopamine produced inside the gut. Bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium produce precursors by breaking down proteins in the food we eat. If the gut microbiome gets disrupted, the production of these critical precursors can plummet, leading to reduced serotonin and dopamine levels. This imbalance might manifest as mood swings, anxiety, or even depression. On the flip side, a healthy, diverse gut microbiome ensures a steady supply of these building blocks, keeping mental health in check. Beyond the gut-brain axis. The influence of your gut microbiome goes far beyond just connecting to the brain. It plays a key role in several critical functions, including immunity, cancer risk, and metabolism. Your immune system acts like a defense army, always on the lookout for invaders. The bacteria in your gut help train immune cells to differentiate between harmful pathogens and harmless substances, ensuring the immune system doesn't attack the body itself. However, when the balance of gut microorganisms is disrupted, it can lead to chronic inflammation. What is chronic inflammation? It is like an alarm that keeps ringing even after the threat is long gone, signaling an ongoing issue that the body hasn't resolved. This can cause the immune system to mistakenly attack the gut, leading to conditions like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, and neurological disorders. Various laboratory and animal studies have linked the gut microbiome to cardiovascular diseases and type 2 diabetes. And now research is focused on covering any direct causal links to develop targeted therapies. Emerging research is also revealing how our gut microbiome might influence cancer development and its role in anti-cancer therapies. For instance, bacteria like Fusobacterium and Helicobacter pylori have been linked to an increased risk of stomach cancer. Maintaining a healthy balance of gut microorganisms is crucial for overall well-being. But did you know that the food you eat plays a direct role in shaping that balance? You are what your microorganisms eat. Your gut is home to trillions of microorganisms, and they are dependent on the food you consume. However, they are not just there living off the food we consume. In return, they give us something that makes us healthy. It's a mutually beneficial relationship known as symbiosis. When you eat, your gut microorganisms feast on the food you consume, and to return the favor, they produce essential chemicals like neurotransmitters that help regulate various functions in your body. But here's the catch. If your diet doesn't provide the right nutrients for these microorganisms, their ability to support your health can diminish, and the consequences can be significant. Consider the example of one of the most important bacteria of the gut microbiome, the bifidobacterium, which begins to populate the gut shortly after birth, entering via the vaginal canal during a natural delivery or through breast milk. There are bifidobacterium that thrive on special compounds found in breast milk called human milk oligosaccharides, and in return, they provide numerous benefits to the baby, including obtaining energy from the breast milk, training and helping our immune system develop, as well as encouraging the growth of other beneficial gut microorganisms. This mutual relationship underscores how food directly impacts gut microorganisms and overall health. However, studies have found that the population of bifidobacterium and other good bacteria in our gut tends to reduce as we get older, particularly in combination with poor dietary choices, not least those rich in processed foods, high in sugar, and low in fiber, which accelerates this decline. Antibiotics can also disrupt the gut microbiome by wiping out both harmful and beneficial bacteria, like bifidobacterium. This decline in bifidobacterium highlights a broader issue. Poor dietary habits and overuse of antibiotics can weaken the gut microbiome as a whole, reducing its ability to support not only physical health, but mental well-being as well. But it's not only bifidobacterium that suffers. Other essential microorganisms can also decline due to similar dietary and lifestyle factors. When the diversity of microorganisms in the gut decreases, the microbiome loses its ability to maintain balance and perform essential functions, affecting everything from digestion to immune function. Biosolutions for your gut health. The intricate partnership between humans and their gut microorganisms is a cornerstone of health, and science is uncovering natural ways to support this balance through biosolutions, innovative methods that work with your body instead of against it. Unlike treatments that may disrupt the natural systems in your gut, biosolutions aim to enhance and restore harmony within your microbiome. One of the most widely recognized biosolutions is probiotics, which are live, beneficial bacteria introduced into the gut through food or supplements. You've likely heard about probiotics in foods like yogurt, kimchi, or kefir, which naturally contain these helpful microorganisms. Probiotics are also available as specialized products, often in capsules or powders, designed to deliver targeted health benefits. For instance, supplements containing Bifidobacterium longum 35624 have shown significant success in alleviating common digestive discomforts like bloating, abdominal pain, and irregular bowel movements. Similarly, Limonocilactobacillus reuteri has demonstrated remarkable benefits for people dealing with stomach discomfort caused by Helicobacter pylori, helping to create a healthier gut environment by reducing the population of harmful bacteria. Probiotics do more than address digestive issues. Emerging research has identified a fascinating class of probiotics called psychobiotics, which specifically influence the gut-brain axis, the communication link between your gut and brain. For example, Bifidobacterium longum 1714 has shown potential in helping people manage stress, improve sleep quality, and even enhance mood, offering a new dimension to how we think about mental and physical health. But probiotics are only the beginning. Scientists are identifying an ever-growing list of beneficial microorganisms within the gut microbiome, each playing a unique role in maintaining health. Many of these microorganisms are now isolated, studied, and developed into safe and effective biosolutions that can be tailored to individual needs. What makes these advancements even more exciting is the prospect of personalized medicine. Every person's microbiome is as unique as a fingerprint, and the future holds the promise of treatments customized to each individual's microbial ecosystem. Such precision healthcare could revolutionize not just how we treat disease, but how we maintain health, moving from symptom management to prevention and optimization. As we delve deeper into the secrets of the gut microbiome, it becomes clear that a healthy life begins with a healthy gut. By supporting the trillions of microorganisms working tirelessly on our behalf, we are unlocking a new era in medicine, one that honors the delicate yet powerful partnership within us. Fun facts. Food cravings? You can blame it on the gut microorganisms. Ever feel like your cravings are totally out of your control? Your gut microbiome, those trillions of tiny bacteria living inside you, could be pulling the strings. For example, if you're constantly craving chocolate, it might be because your gut bacteria are whispering sweet nothings into your brain. Studies have shown that people who crave chocolate have different microbial metabolites in their urine compared to those who don't crave it, even when they eat the same food. So next time you're reaching for that extra piece of chocolate, blame it on your gut microorganisms. Couples who stay together, gut together. Ever wondered if your relationship is making you healthier? Turns out it might be, on a microbial level. A study integrated into the Wisconsin longitudinal study found that the quality of your social bonds, especially with a spouse, could influence the diversity of your gut microbiome. Researchers analyzed microbiota data from 94 married couples and 83 sibling pairs and found that couples, particularly those with close relationships, shared more similar microbiomes than siblings. Not only that, but married couples reported greater microbial diversity and richness compared to those living alone, especially when they had close relationships. This suggests that your social ties, especially close marital bonds, could be influencing your gut health, possibly contributing to the health benefits long associated with living with a partner. Play a tune, boost your gut. Your gut might have a hidden love for music. A recent study on mice revealed that playing music during feeding led to significant changes in their gut microbiota. The music increased populations of beneficial bacteria, like Firmicutes, while decreasing harmful or conditionally pathogenic bacteria. Looks like a great playlist could be the key to happier, healthier guts, both for animals and maybe even for us. Is your gut making you angry? Did you know your gut microorganisms might influence your level of aggression? A recent study found that mice with altered gut microbiomes, either from being germ-free or treated with antibiotics, showed increased aggression. Even more fascinating, when researchers transplanted gut bacteria from infants exposed to antibiotics into other mice, those mice became more aggressive too. The study suggests that the gut microbiome plays a key role in regulating aggression, potentially through its impact on serotonin levels and brain function. So, next time you're feeling a bit extra, could be your gut microorganisms calling the shots. Thank you so much for listening.